right, we'll go ahead and call the Board of Public Works meeting for January 17th, 2017 to order. First, we have the reading and approving the minutes. I'll take a motion to dismiss the reading and approving the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next we have the payment of the claims. We were just talking up here a little bit about payment of the claims. It's really tiny this year, or this meeting, about 145,000, which for a Board of Works meeting is pretty small. We just had a really small one last year, end of last year. This is even smaller than that one. So, is there any questions about any of the claims? Any questions from the public? All right, motion to accept the payment of the claims will be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next, city attorney report. Dustin, did you have anything to report or anything you'd like to?
Time.
Okay. All right. Next, we'll move on to the old business. We don't have anything on the agenda, but we did recall we have the issue at 7th and Fremont that we wanted to bring back up for this meeting. Chief, I know I've spoken through Assistant Chief Hoover about doing some radaring in that area. Have you guys gotten any numbers for that?
Very small. We don't have a big enough sample right now at this time, and I apologize. I don't want to bring anybody, have to bring somebody back for the next meeting, but I want to keep it fair for both sides. And we also need some crash information from that location as well. So without a doubt, we'll have it for the next meeting, but I apologize if anybody's come to this meeting wanting an answer, and I apologize if that's going to hinder the decision, but at this time, I just don't feel good enough with the information we have to provide at this point.
Right. So, and we did speak, but it's really loud, at some department head meetings and stuff about the issue, kind of brainstorm about that some. We did look at some of those signs that have the bring up your speed. And I know, just speaking to like department heads and traffic, we felt like that really will slow people down when they see those signs. We don't currently have any as a city. But we were looking at, where we could find the money to purchase maybe a set of those. And then also talking to traffic, our traffic supervisor, he did advise against a four-way, but that's not saying that that's a done deal, but he did advise that we not do that. I would like to see more numbers as far as, I'd like to see what the police can come up with on the records of the wrecks and some numbers that we can give us about the speeds. I know we had a situation last year where, I can't remember, it was on the east end. A gentleman came in and wanted a reduced speed, I believe, and we did a traffic study there through the police department, and they brought back some really enlightening numbers that I think really put things in perspective as far as that went. And so that's why I'm really curious about what they might bring back for this one. And I know, speaking with different people, like members of the board here, I know the general consensus seems to be that we feel like if people start getting tickets in the area, that has a real effect on the public's mind about, hey, this area's a speed trap or something like that in their minds. But like I said, I think before really coming to a final say on like yes or no on a four-way stop, getting some of those numbers back from the police department. I know last time we talked about, I think your son said he might look into some of the numbers. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add for tonight?
He was talking with him, and there's the request is put in, but like Mike was saying, with his computers and stuff, they don't have the information quite yet.
Gotcha.
Which is fine. We can, if we have to wait on it, then so be it. We'd like to give you guys a chance to get the numbers that we need.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to make a suggestion to Mike, if I could. I live at 208 West 7th. And I would suggest, if there's any way, if you guys are going to radar, sit on the side road where people can't see you as they're coming down the block. Because we've been outside before, and you can tell when people see you ahead of time, they start to slow down before you're able to catch them. I didn't know if it was possible to sit on Fremont Street somehow, and as they're going through 7th, if you could radar then.
It makes it a little bit makes it a little bit difficult 'cause to understand radars, and I don't want to go too deep, but the less the angle that you are with the car, so you want to be a little bit more straight on if you can, the less the angle, the more accurate the radar is. You can never, because a lot of our radars are fixed on the dash itself, so if a car goes by at a 90-degree angle, it's hard to get. Now, we could somehow try to angle ourselves, and I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with it, and they're actually going to, you'll see a white Ford Fusion, they're going to use my car for the next 2 weeks, so we'll be everywhere around that area right now. Just to get an idea, that way they don't see a police car, they have no idea what's going on, the general public does. I agree with what you're saying, it's nice to hide, but by the same token, if you hide, in my opinion, the one car, you only affect one car, and that's the car you catch for speeding. If you sit there and they see a marked car, and every day someone sees a marked car there for 2 weeks, everybody that drives that road slows down, rather than just the one car you caught speeding. Does that make sense? Because if you're hiding, then nobody knows you're there. So I
also, if it's an unmarked, and people tend to travel like they usually do, and they don't see, and they don't know that it's a police car, I believe that they'll still do the rate of speed that they normally do, and I think you'll get more of a better idea of how many people are speeding instead of how many people slow down because they see a cop. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I've made a form, and what the guys are going to do is they're going to run in at least a half-hour increments, and they're going to write down the speed of every car that goes by, every single one. And then I've also asked them on Fremont Street to see if people are coming to complete stops or not. So we're going to get that whole perspective.
I'd say don't be right on the corner of Fremont and 7th, because if they can see it, I'm sure they'll stop. But if they don't see nothing.
Once again, it'll be a white Ford Fusion, though. It won't, and it doesn't have lights on it. It has lights in it, but not lights on it. So they should not know it's a police car. Well, they may now that we're on TV.
Right.
If it gets them to slow down, who cares?
Yeah, if they slow down, that's good.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if we should tell them.
Just blot that one out.
Yeah. Well, it seems that we don't really have new information for the topic, unless the board feels we should take it off the table. I say we just leave it on the table and move to new business.
Can I just ask one more question, Mayor? We did find some manual, we went through manually, because when we do crash reports, we have to do it through the state of Indiana, and they go up to this repository, and we can draw down on those. But correct me if I'm wrong, but we searched for the last 2 years and only found a crash on October 18 of 16. Is that incorrect?
We've had a few.
They just had one, yeah, they just had one.
We had one in November, we had one in October.
My son's car is still sitting in front of my neighbor's house.
Okay. When was that the November crash?
That was December 26th. It's a Ford Mustang GT, and it's still sitting half on the curb, half in the road, waiting for insurance to figure out what they're going to do with it.
Okay.
There's been a lot of near misses. Just last week, I almost got rear-ended twice. Once turning into my driveway, and once because I'm going the speed limit, and they're not, and they actually had the nerve to honk at me because I'm going the speed limit, and they wanted to hurry up. I'm like, really? If I didn't have a new car, I probably would have slammed the brakes on, but I like my car. Okay?
The last day of Christmas, he was picking up the kids and was getting out of the vehicle.
Right.
And
But I know
there
this.
was almost a near miss there.
There's been a lot of near misses.
It was the last day of school, Thursday, last day of school for Brew. Picked the kids up, got home, and I live 2 houses from the intersection. As we're getting out of the car, we hear a big screech. We're gonna have it now, just looking. So we turn around and look, and there was an SUV on 7th Street that slammed his brakes on because another vehicle on Fremont blew the stop sign. If they wouldn't have slowed down, they would have T-boned them.
Okay.
Stuff like, but that doesn't go recorded.
And I have had other neighbors come up too that couldn't make it to the meeting too, and basically same sentiments that you guys have. So,
Thank you.
yeah, and I apologize too that we don't have more going on at this time. So,
Are you going to make a motion to table that?
no, I'm just going to leave it on the table.
You have to motion to do that? Okay.
All right, and so we'll move on to new business. We have a request from the Salvation Army. Anita Day. Is Anita here? Okay. It's a request for a no dumping sign in front of business. says, have nowhere to put items such as couches, cabinets, etc. I haven't talked to Anita directly, but I do know, speaking to some other people associated with the Salvation Army, they get donations, and sometimes people drop off things at their location, expecting, I guess, the Salvation Army just to pick it up and try to sell it, or I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, with no one from the Salvation Army to clarify. I don't know.
Is it on their property,
What's that?
the issue? I mean,
Well, from what I understand, people are dumping items on their property, like couches and stuff like that, for donation.
I would almost think that that sign on their property would be their responsibility, just to put up their own no dumping sign, if that's their problem.
I guess, would either of the chiefs have any knowledge or background on that?
The only thing that I can think of is behind the Salvation Army in the alley is where a lot of that stuff's dropped off. And when you go by there on the weekends, it does look like would be an influx of couches and old recliners and stuff that when there's no one at the Salvation Army, people just dump to get rid of. I don't ever recall seeing any furniture or anything anywhere else but in the back where they drop that stuff off.
Right.
But I haven't talked to anyone at the Salvation Army either, so.
Tish, did you speak to them? Did they make this directly to you, or is this a request that was turned in?
Yeah, it showed up in my mailbox.
Gotcha.
They worded it a no dumping sign for out in front of business.
Right, but when I spoke to them too, same thing with Chris, they were talking about in the alley, this is where the issue
That's where I
was.
see the stuff is in the back.
So I wonder if this wasn't a mistranslation by whoever took down the notes for Salvation Army there.
I could be incorrect, I think I kind of what Mr. Anderson was referring to. I think in the tree lawn, and maybe your legal counsel would be able to help us here, in the tree lawn, I don't believe they can put a sign like that.
Mhm.
But I believe on the other side of the sidewalk, in their own yard area, they would be able to do that.
Yeah. And like I said,
If it was in front, it is, I apologize.
right, yeah, and like Chief Besser was saying, I think that the issue is in the alley, that they're having the problems. And like I said, that's, when it was relayed to me through other people from the Salvation Army, it was about the alley. I don't know if we have any no dumping signs in the alleys, is that?
I've never seen one. I've never
yeah.
recalled seeing one either. Yeah.
So I'd like to at least talk to maybe Wade.
I can tell you that I called her and let her know that it was on the agenda.
Okay.
I guess I'm just, Mayor, if I could, I don't know, is this a city issue? I mean, is it a deal where our traffic department would need to put that, or is it just something that personal business would need to put there?
Right, and that's the thing too, I don't know if that's, like, as far as precedent, if that's something that that the city's done in the past throughout alleys. So I hesitate to approve something that I'm not sure on the background, or,
And do we know what their protocol even is? Is someone supposed to go in the business to request to leave these items?
yeah, that I don't know either. If there is a regular drop-off in the back, and it's just an excess, or if they've,
I
How that's
believe they
going
have
back.
a sign that they're supposed to be there. I don't think you're supposed to just, I mean, I've dropped things off before, but I've called to set up a time with them. But I think there's actually a sign on the back of their building that you're not just supposed to leave items. Because then you get people with their garage sale junk and they throw it in there and they don't necessarily want everything. So,
I seem to remember seeing a sign that it also says how to leave items, like no items in trash bags. It needs to be in
Right.
boxes and things. I think they do have some signage back
yeah, there's
there.
something back there. I just don't recall exactly what it says.
yeah. Do you know, as far as, is there any extra weight to the city putting in a no dumping sign versus the property owner putting one, or?
That's kind of where I was going with that too. I mean, is it littering? You know, if you have that sign there, could you technically call it littering because they're leaving these items? Or is it criminal mischief because they're leaving these items? They're not really defacing somebody's property, but I think we'd be hard pressed to be able to charge somebody criminally with leaving these items there. I think no dumping, I don't see where that would hold any weight of water. Thus,
Yeah.
I think if the sign is there and you're not supposed to leave these items there, it'd be hard, I don't know, it'd be awfully hard to seek out the prosecutor and say, can we charge someone with littering when they're thinking they're doing something good for the Salvation Army, for the community.
Maybe it's better, their signing needs to be a little bit better, clarify what you can and can't. If it's like the bigger items like they're referring to, maybe it's, you know, recommend them setting up some sort of phone number to call, or, I mean, if they actually want the items.
All right. Do you have any input on this, Dustin, any thought?
Legally, I think it'd be up to the owners to choose to put a sign in their part. Like when they talk about the tree line, yeah, that's city. City
Right.
would do that, and I personally, I don't know if a city putting a sign up would change anything.
All right. Well, sounds like maybe either a table or,
Mayor,
yep,
I'll go talk to them if you want me to. Maybe I can just bring that back to the Board of Works in 2
Okay.
weeks and kind of explain to them see what they want, I guess.
Right.
And see if they understand that it would still be tough to press any kind of charges on somebody if they left those items there. Maybe suggest them to get cameras. I don't know. I don't really know the best route. So maybe I can just go talk to someone. I can start with Ms. Day and
yeah,
see where she wants to go, and maybe present some more information next week or in 2 weeks.
gotcha. That sounds like the best idea to me. If
I
that's,
agree.
So we'll go ahead, and table that, and if you want to give us an update on the next meeting, when we can come to some kind of conclusion there. So, we have a motion to table the request by the Salvation Army.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
I did.
That's right. Next, we have Philip Sermons from the Mount Hermon Baptist Church. Mr. Sermons, do you want to go ahead and come forward and tell us about what you're here to talk to us today about?
Thanks, everyone. I am not an official spokesman for the church. I'm just a member, and yet I think the church should be a historical site, considered a historical site. And in doing so, I was hoping the city would help the church in its hour of need. We have a curb problem that needs to be fixed. And I think that it's on the property of the church. I realize that, but I was just hoping that the city could help fund the repairs that are needed to the curb.
I know you came to the office, was that maybe a couple weeks ago when we spoke? I know at that time, talking to you, I know it's my belief that we have a great need throughout the city for curb repair and for a lot of residents. Like I said, that our tax-paying residents have a lot of damaged sidewalks, damaged curbs that are affecting their mobility. I know that one of the concerns for the church is for the elderly. I feel like if all of our elderly citizens throughout Peru who are paying their taxes all had perfect sidewalks and weren't a concern, maybe we could look at moving on to other businesses and nonprofits. But, given that there's such a widespread need for sidewalks and for curbs throughout the city, I feel like that would be best served to actually help, individuals at their residence be able to have that mobility at their home.
Okay.
But now, and like I said before too, the street department will tear it out and haul it away for free. And if you have a contractor to pour the new curb or the new sidewalk, your contractor can get in contact with our street department and arrange for a time for the street department to come and actually do the demo and pull out the old concrete and haul it away, and that's at no charge.
That's a big percentage of the
Right.
cost as well. So your contractor that comes in there, if he's not paying to remove that concrete, that's going to save you a tremendous amount of money.
Okay. My other agenda item was the Bobtail Pike walkway. is dangerous.
Right.
The road along the side of the golf course there, I was hoping the city could look into seeing if it could be the walkway could be expanded so that I realize the speed limit is 25 miles per hour, but sometimes in the dark at night, you can't see people till you're right up on them, or if it's bad weather or something of that nature. And so I was hoping that it could be looked into it so that the walkway on both sides of the road there at Bobtail Pike could be expanded.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, and actually, the city contracted with a company that does engineering for municipalities called United, and I actually did contact them and told them that I wanted to take a look at Bobtail Pike there about what are some possible remedies for that, because I agree that's something that I know has been on my radar as a safety issue for a while. So, but yeah, the city's going to look into what we can do there.
One of the items that I had hoped for is I'd like to know what the city's plans are for the remaining land along the riverside where the Miami Fort Park area is.
Mhm.
I was hoping that the city would consider getting grants for like a skating rink or a tennis courts for the west side of town, because the east side has tennis courts, and I was hoping that the city could consider putting in a skating rink and a tennis court. The present skating area down there with for the youth, the skateboarding park that we have is excellent. I think it's a good thing for kids to be able to have that, but not everybody is able to skate. With the I can't do all the tricks and stuff like that. And I just thought maybe it would be a good addition to have another skating area for the young people that are not as daredevil-ish in the skating, and it's a good exercise. And I think that I can't afford to have join the YMCA, and I thought it would be able to it would make money for the city, and it would help low-income people to have another avenue for exercise.
Yeah. As far as like a tennis court or ice skating rink, that'd be something that those plans and the plan for how the city go about funding that and going after grants really falls underneath the Parks Board to go after those grants and look at that funding, or bring those opportunities to the city council and ask for funding. The ice skating rink, I don't know. I know talking to some of the same city engineers to say that that's a very hard thing to do financially for cities. Tennis court, I don't see why, tennis court would be something that we wouldn't look at doing, but then again, it all comes down to money, it always comes back to that. So, most grants still take some match, as far as the funds. So, but that would be something that, if you have an idea about certain grants or whatnot that the Parks Board, should be aware of. Do we know when the next Parks Board meeting is? We could direct Mr. Sermons to.
I can find out. I have Mr. Sermon's contact information.
Okay.
Some of the stuff you're referring to, the park board, they have their master plan, and there is some things, they've been talking about an ice skating rink, being able to building a new basketball court, and then they put a little lip around the edge of it. In the wintertime, they fill it up with water, and so there has been talks about some of that stuff. I haven't heard the mention of a tennis court, but it is a great idea. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think any of that's a bad idea. It just, like I said, it always comes back down to money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We're not allowed to work on our vehicles. I live out at Arrowhead Estates, and we're not allowed to work on our vehicles outside. And I was hoping that maybe an auto hobby shop, if the city could advertise for someone who'd be willing to take over the Wright's wreckage yard. I think it's not, I think you told me it's not in the city's boundaries, or it's the county's property.
Yeah, out on, is that Blair Ridge or Blair Pike? Oh.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. I was wondering if the city could help to attract someone willing to have an auto hobby shop there at in that area.
Yeah, and I think it would be, I guess, only with it being outside the city limits to try to get that development out there. It's really outside of what we're focused on, you know, as this board within the city limits.
Well, even at the riverside, where that wooded area out by near the Mount Hermon Baptist Church, there's a wooded area there. I thought maybe that area could be used to build a hobby shop there on that area too.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I know Steve and I, we went to Goshen. One of the things they have in Goshen is actually hobby shops for, artists, woodworkers, where you pay a membership, and then there's community like tools and an area where you could do stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, that isn't too far off from what we saw them doing in Goshen. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. It's a little, it's something we'd have to look into, you know, and it's not something I think that we could really do anything here tonight. But I do like the idea.
Yeah. And I'd be willing to. I'm not very computer literate, but if I'm able, I'll try to see what grants might be available for something like that. Because I was in the Air Force, and we had a hobby shop at Grissom, in the Air Force Base. And it's just something that I see as a need for low-income people that want to get to work, but they don't have transportation, and can't afford to spend a lot of money on continued repairs of their vehicles and whatnot.
Right.
And so I was hoping that the city would look into seeing if a hobby shop is a viable solution to that problem.
Yeah, honestly, I've never heard of that, but I do take your point. I think that is a good idea. I don't know all the legalities or how technically you go about doing that, but I think it's an idea worth looking at. Absolutely.
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sermon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So I think the only thing, I don't know if there's anything to make a motion on, except maybe the request for the curb work. The other things I think are more of suggestions, things to look into. But as far as the request for the city doing repairs to the curb, I think a denial of the request would be appropriate. If I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there anything else that we have? Oh yeah, we got one more. Chief Betzner, you have the interlocal agreements for the Denver and Mexico Fire Departments.
Right, this is a contract, interlocal agreement with Denver and Mexico to bring us water when we're dispatched out in the Drew Township on a structure fire.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done this the 7 years that I've been chief, and really since 2004 when we started our fire territory, we've had an interlocal agreement for them to bring us water supplies. So when we're dispatched, they're simultaneously dispatched with us, and they bring tanker support and water supplies. So we pay them $2,000 a year, so they get $1,000 per half. But I would just ask that you guys pass that interlocal agreement so we have plenty of water out there.
Yep.
I think it's kind of a must.
Yeah, and so this is pretty much the same one that we signed last year too.
And Dustin looked at the one that we had previous, and he was okay with it.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board about the agreement?
Nope.
Is there any questions or comment from the public? All right, well, then a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between the Peru Fire Department and the Denver and Mexico departments would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the motion passes. I believe, is that
That's it.
all to come before the board? All right, motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.